My dear timeless elders, can I ask you something straight from the heart? Have you ever met an older neighbor who doesn't have much money but somehow carries a quiet joy, a steady peace, and a warm smile that fills the room? They don't live in a big house or drive a shiny car, yet when you sit with them you feel calm, welcome, and somehow richer. Today I want to share the small daily habits and timeless choices those seniors use, the gentle wisdom that makes a modest life feel full. Pour a cup of tea, wrap a blanket around your shoulders, and let's walk this gentle path together. Contentment and simple living is one of the greatest treasures of life, especially in the later years, and yet it costs nothing at all. I remember a man named Mr. Williams, a gentle elder who lived on only a small pension, but he carried a smile that could light up a room. He often said with calm conviction, "I don't count what I don't have, I celebrate what I do have, my health, my little garden, my family, and my faith." His words carried wisdom deeper than any wealth could buy. Contentment does not mean that you stop dreaming or hoping for better, it simply means you stop torturing yourself with endless comparisons to others. In today's world, we are constantly shown images of bigger houses, shinier cars, exotic vacations, and fashionable clothes, but the truth is, when you live by comparison, happiness will always feel just out of reach. Contentment frees you from this trap. It teaches you to look at your own life with gratitude, to notice the blessings already present, and to savor the simple joys that are available every single day. Simple living, my dear friends, is not dull living at all. In fact, it is the richest way of living when you open your heart to it. Think of the smell of fresh coffee drifting through the kitchen on a quiet morning, the sound of birds singing softly at dawn as the world slowly wakes, the taste of warm bread fresh from the oven, the peace of sitting under the shade of a tree in the afternoon breeze. These things cost almost nothing, yet they feed the soul in ways money never can. I once visited an older couple who lived in a tiny house. Their furniture was worn and simple, their walls painted many years ago, but there was warmth in every corner. They didn't have fancy meals, just oatmeal in the morning, vegetable soup in the evening, yet they shared those meals with joy. On the windowsill, they grew small pots of tomatoes, herbs, and flowers. The way their faces lit up when those tiny plants bloomed was more precious than gold. Their laughter echoed through the home, and the photographs on their walls told stories of family gatherings, shared struggles, and unforgettable moments. They had little by material standards, but in truth, they were living a life far richer than many who owned mansions. That is the beauty of contentment and simplicity. It shifts your focus from what you are missing to what is already in your hands. You start to realize that happiness is not found in chasing more, but in cherishing enough. When you stop buying things to impress others or measuring your value against possessions, you begin to live in peace. You breathe easier, you smile more, and you see beauty in things you once overlooked. Contentment whispers to the restless heart, slow down, breathe, notice, and give thanks. It is in this slowing down that life's true treasures reveal themselves, the hug of a grandchild, the comfort of a friend's voice on the phone, the calm of a quiet evening when you reflect on a day well lived. Some believe that contentment is resignation, but in truth, it is strength. It takes courage to step away from the world's pressure to always want more and instead say, "This is enough for me, and I am grateful." Simple living adds to this strength, because when you live simply, you discover freedom. You are no longer trapped by debt, by endless shopping lists, by the fear of losing things you cannot afford in the first place. Instead, you discover joy in frugality, pride in making things last, and satisfaction in creating instead of constantly consuming. Simple living allows you to notice the colors of a sunset, to enjoy the sound of laughter echoing in your home, to take pride in the small meals you prepare with your own hands. Even the act of sweeping your little porch or watering your garden becomes meaningful when done with presence. Happiness, in truth, is not about how much you spend but about how deeply you savor. The happiest elders I have ever met had very little wealth, but they were rich in presence, in gratitude, in love, and in laughter. They knew how to celebrate the daily blessings, a phone call from a child, the smell of rain on the ground, a neighbor stopping by with fresh fruit, or a simple prayer whispered at sunrise. These small blessings, when gathered in the heart, become treasures beyond measure. So let me remind you, Dear friends, contentment is not about giving up, it is about gaining peace. It is not about settling for less, but about discovering more in what you already have. And simple living is not empty living, it is a full, joyful, and peaceful way of walking through the world. Together, these habits create a foundation of happiness that no financial struggle can shake. They are the key to living richly, even with little money, because they shift your focus from lack to abundance, from stress to gratitude, and from comparison to peace. And in the end, that kind of life is the truest wealth of all. Invest in people, not possessions. Invest in people, not possessions is a wisdom that becomes clearer with every passing year, because at the end of life, no one sits and thinks about the money in their bank account, the cars they drove, or the clothes they wore. What they remember are the faces of loved ones, the laughter shared with friends, and the warmth of belonging. The happiest seniors I have ever met all shared this secret. They spent their time, energy, and heart building connections, not collecting things. Money and possessions may give a spark of joy for a short while, but love and relationships give a lifetime of meaning. I once knew a woman named Mary, a widow with very little to her name, but every Sunday her tiny home overflowed with life. Her neighbors, church friends, and grandchildren filled the rooms with chatter and laughter. She cooked a small pot of stew, and though it seemed too little for the number of people, it always stretched to feed everyone, because love has a way of multiplying. Mary often said with a soft smile, "I may not buy gifts, but I always have love to give." And her love, freely given, returned to her in abundance. That is the real wealth, to have people who care about you, to be surrounded not by gold or silver but by warmth, kindness, and human connection. Possessions can break, fade, or be taken away, but memories and love endure long after the material things are gone. When you invest in people, you create bonds that comfort you in lonely nights, hands that hold yours in sickness, voices that encourage you in sadness, and hearts that celebrate with you in joy. Think about it, a fancy chair may look nice, but a friend sitting beside you brings true comfort. An expensive meal may impress others, but a simple dinner shared with family fills you with real nourishment. A new gadget may entertain for a few weeks, but a long conversation with a loved one can stay in your heart for years. Relationships are the treasures that grow the more you give them away. The happiest elders I've met never worried about missing out on luxury because their lives were already rich with companionship. They made it a habit to call their children often, to visit neighbors, to join community events, to tell stories that spark laughter in the young, and to listen patiently when someone needed an ear. They gave the gift of their time, and in return, they received loyalty, love, and respect. Investing in people also means forgiving quickly, letting go of grudges, and choosing peace over pride. Possessions can never heal your heart, but reconciliation and love can. And when you share yourself with others, your experiences, your wisdom, your stories, you leave behind a legacy no money can buy. Too often in today's world, people chase possessions as if they will fill the emptiness inside, but what they don't realize is that emptiness can only be filled with human connection, with belonging, with the knowledge that you matter to someone and they matter to you. Imagine sitting in a grand, empty house with no one to share it with. That is loneliness in its truest form. Now imagine sitting on a small porch with an old friend, sipping tea, and sharing memories, and that is happiness in its truest form. Investing in people doesn't require money, it requires kindness, patience, and a willingness to show up for others. A phone call, a handwritten note, a visit, a smile, or even a simple "how are you" can create ripples of joy. Seniors who live with this wisdom are never truly poor, because they are surrounded by invisible treasures, the love of family, the laughter of friends, and the respect of their community. They know that possessions gather dust, but relationships gather blessings. In the final chapters of life, when the body slows down, it is not money that holds your hand, but the people whose lives you touched along the way. So, my dear friends, remember this: possessions may bring comfort, but they will never bring meaning. People, however, bring both comfort and meaning in endless supply. Cherish those around you, nurture your connections, and invest in love, because in the end, that is the only treasure that truly matters, and it will make your life far richer than any possession ever could. Stay useful, find purpose every day. Stay useful, find purpose every day is one of the most powerful secrets to living a happy and fulfilled life as a senior, especially when money is little, because purpose is the fuel that keeps the spirit alive. I have met many elders who told me that retirement was not the end, but a new chapter, a time to give back, to share, and to stay engaged with the world in ways that money could never measure. Those who wake up each morning with even the smallest reason to get out of bed, watering the garden, baking bread, knitting a blanket, reading stories to grandchildren, volunteering at the library, teaching a young neighbor how to repair something, or simply writing letters to loved ones, carry within them a spark that makes their days brighter and their nights peaceful. Purpose is not about doing something grand or being recognized by the world. It is about knowing that your life still adds value, still touches others, and still matters. I once met an elderly man who had lost his wife and most of his savings, but every morning he went to the park with a bag of breadcrumbs to feed the birds, and soon children began gathering around him, listening to his stories about the old days. What started as a simple act of kindness became his mission, to share joy, to connect, to keep a piece of history alive in the hearts of the young. He told me, "I don't have money to give, but I can give my time, my words, and my love." And that was more valuable than any fortune. When you stay useful, you protect yourself from the loneliness and emptiness that often creep in when days feel too long and unstructured. Seniors who live with purpose have stronger hearts, sharper minds, and calmer spirits because they are not consumed by regret or restlessness. Purpose reminds you that you are not a burden but a blessing. It shifts your focus from what you have lost to what you can still offer. Even something as simple as tending to plants, folding laundry for your family, helping cook a meal, or smiling at a stranger is a gift to the world. The truth is, we were not made to sit idle for too long. Our hands, hearts, and minds were created to serve, to create, to nurture. Without purpose, days can feel empty, and the spirit grows weary, but with purpose, even the smallest tasks shine with meaning. Purpose also connects you to others, because usefulness is rarely a solitary act. Whether you volunteer, share wisdom, or simply lend a listening ear, you draw people closer, and in return, you feel their warmth and appreciation. I once knew a woman who crocheted baby blankets for the hospital. She never met the families who received them, but she said, "Every stitch I make is a prayer for a baby I'll never know." That kind of love gave her days meaning and her nights peace. And the beauty of purpose is that it does not demand wealth, youth, or perfect health. It only asks for willingness. You may not be able to run as you once did, but you can still write, speak, listen, and share. You may not have energy for heavy work, but you can still pray, encourage, and inspire. Every act of usefulness, no matter how small, sends ripples of goodness into the world. And when you have purpose, you no longer feel enslaved by money, because meaning fills the spaces that money cannot. It makes you feel rich in ways that possessions never can. So, my dear friends, ask yourself each morning, what can I do today to add a little light, a little kindness, a little wisdom to the world? And then do it with love. Because staying useful is not just about keeping busy, it is about keeping alive the truth that you are still needed, still valuable, and still capable of shaping lives around you. That awareness is a treasure greater than gold, and it is the secret to living fully, joyfully, and purposefully every single day. Health, habits and gratitude. The true wealth is the greatest secret many people only realize late in life, when they begin to see that no amount of money, property, or possessions can buy a single extra heartbeat, a clear mind, or a moment of peace. Real wealth is waking up in the morning and being able to breathe deeply, stretch your arms, walk without pain, and feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin. I have met people who lived in small homes, wore simple clothes, and had little in their bank accounts, yet they were richer than kings because they cared for their health, built good daily habits, and practiced gratitude with every breath. Health is the foundation that carries you through life. Without it, even the finest meal tastes bitter, even the grandest houses feel empty, and even the biggest bank account cannot comfort you. Habits are the small choices we repeat each day that quietly build or destroy our future: what we eat, how we move, how we rest, and how we treat others. I once knew an old woman who walked to the park every morning with a small cane. She wasn't fast, but she was consistent, and at 85, her body still moved gracefully, and her laughter filled every space she entered. She said, "My wealth is not in coins but in my steps, my smiles, and my prayers." That simple habit of walking, smiling, and thanking God each day gave her a vitality that money could never purchase. Gratitude, too, is a habit, and it transforms the ordinary into extraordinary. When you take time to thank life for clean water, a warm bed, a cup of tea, the voice of a loved one, or even just another sunrise, your heart grows lighter, and your soul feels rich. Gratitude shifts your gaze from what is missing to what is present, from emptiness to abundance, and it allows joy to bloom in the simplest corners of your life. I have met wealthy people who had everything yet complained of boredom and loneliness, and I have met humble people who had little but lived in constant thanksgiving, and they radiated peace and contentment that drew everyone toward them. Health, habits, and gratitude are like three strands of a rope. Together they give strength to pull you through the hardest days. If you care for your body with nourishing food, gentle movement, and rest, you protect your health. If you form habits of kindness, discipline, and simplicity, you shape a meaningful life. And if you water all of it with gratitude, you turn each day into a blessing. Even when sickness comes, as it eventually does for us all, gratitude softens the pain, habits give resilience, and health, even in small measures, becomes a treasure to cherish. The truth is, you don't need a grand lifestyle to feel rich. You need a body that can carry you, habits that guide you, and a grateful heart that sees beauty in what you already have. I once sat with an old man who had survived many struggles, poverty, illness, and loss, yet he told me, "Every night I close my eyes with thanks, and every morning I wake with hope. That is my wealth." His words reminded me that the richest life is not measured in gold but in heartbeats, smiles, good choices, and thankful prayers. So take care of your health as best you can, practice habits that nourish rather than drain you, and above all, live in gratitude, because together they form the true wealth that never fades, never breaks, and never loses its value. If you found this comforting or helpful, please give the video a like so other elders can find it, and subscribe for more simple wisdom to make retirement go. Stay grateful, stay joyful, and remember, real wealth is made of love, purpose, and health, not money.